Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on another episode of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, I want to introduce you to a couple of our sponsors. Legacy Financial. Last year was a tough year. However, staying positive, keep your faith, and continue to work hard is the goal. If you're in a financial struggle at the moment, or if you need some help, or if you're doing well and you want to get to the next level, either way, give them a call. Also, if you're looking for a new opportunity to work for yourself and earn more money part-time, give them a call also. Call AO at 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Andrew and AO are just two people on a mission to help families build a legacy. You can find them on social media at Twitter at legacy_uncut. Also on Instagram at Sims_uncut. And on a Facebook page, Legacy Financial. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro team is another of one of sponsors. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in a host of something different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's play for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on the quest to earn titles and give players second chances ever since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California Warriors, and on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Now on to the show. With Kevin Durant having another injury scare for the Nets, should the Nets consider, shutting down to the playoffs? We'll discuss that. Also, the Celtics on a little win streak. Can they maintain this win streak, towards the playoffs? Also, Utah, Donovan Mitchell, been out for injury for several games. Can they maintain this lead up until to the Western Conference playoffs start? We'll discuss that and much more here on IE Sports Radio for Fast Break, your direct feed for all that is sports. And you're welcome to join us. And join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to get into. A lot of things been happening in the world of basketball. It's our 50th episode with us here on Fast Break. So thank you for tuning in for 50 episodes, down the pike, and we hope to do 50 more for y'all. But Mr. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Everything is going pretty solid, man. Still watching. I just told you before, I think Wendell Carter was a solid pickup. So I'm just observing what Orlando Magic is doing moving forward. It looks like the Lakers are slowly getting back healthy. As AD was just recently, I believe, cleared for practice. So things are getting very interesting moving forward so far.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting the very last leg of the NBA season. Teams still jockeying for position. But I think one of the things that's kind of put a speed bump on a couple of teams' road to that. We'll start with the Brooklyn Nets. Early today, the Nets were playing the Miami Heat. Kevin Durant, he's been in the news for other things besides playing basketball. Went down with another injury. They wound up losing to Miami 109-107. D-Lock, should the Nets should they consider putting Durant on ice for a little bit to the playoffs? Because they got enough talent there to kind of stay where they are at. Or you think, if he's back healthy, should he play?
Oh, at this point, it seems as if the one thing that you want to have with these guys that you have is you want chemistry. Chemistry is what is going to be needed. I think that's what we seen to happen between the Mavericks and the Heat. A while back when LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh did, they were a solid group. They just didn't have that chemistry when they played against the Mavericks. So I think that chemistry is huge. But it's just the fact that right now it seems more so Kevin Durant is starting to turn into more of an injury-prone person. So to continue to push him, not only that, you got James Harden who's out right now. This is a different scenario, right? You have two players who one is out, and then you have another player who is injury prone at the moment, but continues obviously to be the best player in the NBA, Kevin Durant. So for me, it just depends on how bad the injury is. But remember, playoff time, you're looking at a 7-game series, so you can't take off injuries. Then we've seen what happened when he was injured against Toronto. And the Raptors and Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, Kyle Lowry went to the championship with him being injured, which he played a huge part in that by being injured. So, in my opinion, it depends on how bad the injury is, and then move from there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been coming back on a minutes restriction here lately. Still scoring efficiently in those scoring minutes as well. I mean, with those minute restrictions. And you're thinking, okay, you kind of keep this up, kind of monitor it, and, you gradually increase it. But it seems like every time you kind of turn around, he goes right back to on the shelf on the bench. I mean, look at these numbers just for 5 minutes of play. 3 for 3 from the field, 2 for 2 for 3-point line, 8 points in that span of time. That's scary good right there. I mean, we already knew that, but to have 8 points within 5 minutes against like a bulldog team like the Heat, with the guys they have of Ariza, Iguodala, Jimmy Butler, and others.
Yeah.
That's that's scary. And you would hate, as Steve Nash, you would hate to lose that if another big injury flare up on him come playoff time. Or before that. Hard is out right now. Kyrie.
It's up and down.
Which way the wind blows.
Yep.
We don't know how his move gonna be. And shout out to LaMarcus Aldridge for retiring from the NBA. And step away to monitor his health and stuff like that. You lose him. Blake Griffin, you don't know what you're going to get out of him in this stage of his career. So, a lot of questions there for the Nets.
There's a lot of stuff that we wasn't expecting from them when they signed Aldridge and Blake Griffin.
I'll say this, for the Nets. Well, they do have some nice young pieces behind them. And, Nicholas Claxton, who a very good, solid role player for them. In which, I know you need depth and stuff like that, but when they signed those two guys, and Aldridge and Griffin, I was kind of like, well, is Claxton's playing time going to diminish? Because he plays the same position as those two guys. But, fortunately for him, Aldridge retired. Blake Griffin, he plays here and there. So Claxton still get his minutes. Then also you got, Jeff Green is still there, who gives you glimpses of, him being like a top 10 NBA player and then disappearing in the next 50 games. But let me ask you this. Can the Brooklyn Nets maintain that second seed up into the playoffs? Or you think somebody like the Celtics may come in with the win streak they got going on and swoop in behind and trying to take over that spot?
I like the Heat, to be honest. It's the only team I really like. Even though they're a little while behind. I just feel like the only team that can move up for that second spot is the Heat. They have the bodies for it. The Celtics are still trying to figure out up and down what they're going to do. They did get Evan Fournier in the trade with Orlando Magic, which is a shooter that they needed. But it just feels like we don't know what the Celtics can hold game in and game out. The Heat is just a team that's starting to surge over time. I like them to possibly move into a high spot in the playoffs of the East.
We do like to point out that that Philly has won out that matchup against Brooklyn. So any tiebreaker that happens, Philly got that advantage. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Like we mentioned, Boston 6-game winning streak right now. Along with the New York Knicks as well. And Julius Randle has been playing his ass off these past few games.
Oh, yeah, big time. Especially against the Knicks. I mean, the Mavericks, what he did. Oh, yeah.
I mean, even today's game against the Pelicans, in which, I'm trying to pull up his stats now. He had today. But he's just been on his road D-log, like 30-plus points. Almost close to averaging like a triple-double in those said games.
Yep.
Even today, 33 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. The potential of this guy, when he came to the league, we a lot of folks didn't know what he could be. You got a big, like young, strong forward who's left-handed, but you really didn't know how his game's gonna mature.
Yeah.
But now you got this young guy that, in a half-court set, can take you off the dribble, use his size to his advantage, and he can go to the rack with the best of them. And I think the one thing, I think you can agree with this, expanding his game to the 3-point line was key. I think if Julius Randle came on like 20 years ago, I think some coaches probably had him like kind of like a mid-range type of guy. But in today's NBA, you got to expand out to that 3-point line, and he keep defenses honest.
Yeah. He's looking like an all-star right now. A big-time all-star. The big pickup for the Knicks. I mean, I remember we were talking about months ago that the Knicks need to pick up a player that would change a franchise, and that could possibly be him.
Do you think the way he's playing, the way he's carrying the Knicks, could he maybe make all NBA first team?
Ooh.
or that's too much of a reach. I know he's going to make it one of those teams, but can you see first team though?
I can't say no. I mean, who would I put at the power forward position above him right now?
Ooh.
John Collins hasn't really did too much. Even though he's a solid player. I mean, you could say Porzingis, but Porzingis is more so of the forward. I mean, the center for that team. Giannis. He could be. I mean, he's playing that great, that good right now. And it's not like the Knicks are really trash. I mean, they're playing pretty solid right now. And the thing about all of this is, and the thing that we've talked about before is, we always say that the Knicks needed that piece. And right now, they're 31-27. They're in the playoffs right there, midway in. They're about 5 games in the playoffs, 4 games in. So he's playing a huge part with that. So to say that he's not an like a first team, that'd be tough to say no. He's playing that good right now.
I was thinking about, been thinking about this past few days. I was like, God, the way he's playing, the way he has helped carry this team, I gotta throw him in there. You know, along with Giannis as those 2 forward spots. I said, those are the only 2 guys that come to mind to me. Jason Tatum has missed some time. Durant has missed some time. You know, I like Sabonis, but I mean, he's not uplifting his team. You know, as some folks may envision. I mean, I would say Zion, he's having a great season, but, you know, the Pelicans ain't playing too hot. And then, you know,
another person too is Zion. Yeah, that's another person I missed.
And then you got Stan Van Gundy kind of, you know, I don't say throwing his guys on the bus, but, you know, saying words that, you know, won't go too well with grown professionals. There's really not too much else out there. I mean, if LeBron was healthy, yeah, but potentially. But other than that, those 2 forwards right there, I can't think of nobody else.
Zion is the one person that I probably would say that deserves to be in that category as a first team. He's playing that good. Another person that we are missing is Sabonis. Sabonis has played very well too. Anthony Davis has been out for a while.
Yeah.
So I can't really put him there. I mean, you can say Jerami Grant, but you can consider him as a small forward. So it's a couple guys, but that position, you know, there's a couple of guys you can put there.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Knicks keep on winning. That New York media market, and especially they make the playoffs, which, you know, it seems more and more likely in this scenario. I think he'll probably get the nod as, you know, one of the guys in the potential first team all NBA, which carries a lot of weight come your next contract negotiations in the NBA. But I want to say in this little game right here with the Pelicans and the Knicks, and I want to shout out to the chat real quick. Terry Rodriguez in the chat, Adam Karnick in the chat. Adam saying, you know, good evening, guys. As a Bulls fan, do I have any chance of happiness anytime soon? I don't know, Adam. I thought with the Vucevic trade happening, going on with Zach LaVine, I thought things would happen, but LaVine's going to be out for a few games, and the point guard situation in Chicago is kind of in a hot mess right now.
Yeah.
What you think about that, D-Lock, about Chicago's situation right now after the Vucevic trade?
It's gonna take them some time to get that chemistry. I mean, we know it's about chemistry. I think that Boots trade was more so about next year, more with instead of this year. They got the pieces. I mean, I think it's what Sadaraski, Kobe White, Zach LaVine. They're somewhat kind of loaded with Booch. Thaddeus Young, like his minutes has been dropping down, but it seems like they're using this year to move forward for next year. But who's to say that Vooch would be the same person as he was this year, next year? So for me, I honestly think that this team can move up, but they're gonna have to use this year to move up for next year. It's just how it goes. But Vooch is a good piece for them to pick up, and then also on top of that, they're in the East, right? You can be under 5 games. You could be 5 games under 500 and make the playoffs. So Bulls got a nice little few pieces there. They just got to have to make it happen. And then Patrick Williams as well, who's playing outstanding.
Yeah, the more I watch Patrick Williams, he's coming along very nicely as that 3-man and that small 4-man in certain matchups. He got a nice body to him. His shooting is coming along better as the season goes on. So I like him, why I see Patrick Williams. I think for the Bulls, for take the next step, they got to find a point guard somewhere.
Yeah. Kobe White is that guy, though. It seems like they got to lock in to know that he's the guy for them. It seems like they're still kind of up and down on the couple guards they got. And then obviously Zach LaVine is a steal as well.
Well, there's rumors back in the trade deadline that they were interested in Lonzo Ball. Also, should they took a chance on him at the deadline and maybe help solve that problem? Do you think they should have swung for the fences? Not swung for the fences, but made a play for Lonzo?
They could have, but what do you give up for him? I mean, you already know they're going to ask for Zach LaVine.
Oh, that ain't happening.
Yeah, and right now Zach LaVine is looking like a all-star every game he's putting up recently. So, do you give up Zach LaVine for Lonzo? It's a couple. You got a couple of pieces there. And the thing about Booch has to be about, 32, 33? He's not going to be there forever.
Uh-huh.
So he has about a maximum of 6 years, I think, left. So how far are you trying to take this? Are you just trying to make the playoffs? Are you trying to be above 500? They have to come out with this plan. And Lonzo will be a solid piece, but I think LaVine will be as well. Patrick Williams is playing outstanding, so he's going to be the future. So is marketing and Thaddeus Young. But you got, like you said, you got to get you a point guard that's going to lead. And to be up and down, are you just going to say, hey, you know what, we're going to build around Kobe White, which isn't a bad idea. But you got to choose whether you're going to have him your guy or Sadaraski. It's like they're doing a testing right now. Like they're trying to figure out who's going to be the guy. No, stick to Kobe White and build from there. You got a bunch of pieces. Zach LaVine is clearly one of the better players in the league. So is Vooch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And hopefully, Billy Donovan, depending on how the rest of the season goes, they last beat the Cavaliers 106-96. Look at the standings for the Bulls. Oh, God, it's had it. Let's see where we're at. They are 10th. Well, kind of tied with Washington. But they're 10th, behind Indiana. And Charlotte holds the 8th spot. So, if they get some lucky breaks for them along the way with Indiana and Charlotte, for Charlotte, I think if there's a prayer and chance that LaMelo Ball comes back, that'll do great wonders for them. But if they don't figure out, like I said, if they don't figure out the guard situation, especially point guard, I think it would severely handicap this team. And like you mentioned, there's pieces everywhere else around the roster, but that glaring hole is at that point guard position. And Adam is asking, will a quality point guard be available in free agency, or they need the luck of the ping pong balls to get one? That's I haven't looked at the free agency. Who's going to be in free agency yet? I know Lonzo. We talk about Lonzo. He's like a restricted free agent, if I remember serves me correctly, for this upcoming offseason. If you look at the ping pong balls, if you're the Bulls, you happen to be in the top three. Kay Cunningham, Jalen Suggs, those two guys can play point guard position. And then if you don't get in that top three, there's other solid guards you could take. Also, in that upcoming draft. Like I said, we ain't done a deep dive on it yet, Adam. I haven't really looked at the free agency guy. Who's going to be free agency, but those names right there could be available for the Bulls in the offseason. What do you think about that, D-Lock?
They can, but to me, it like sometimes it makes it confusing to me what teams are trying to win titles. You know what I'm saying? Like some teams are just there, I guess, but are you just there just to be part of the league and make moves just to be relevant, or are you really trying to win title? And you're not going to win a title after making one move. It's things that you have to do years and years to get to that opportunity. So some of these moves are possible, but it does leave in question which teams want to really be successful for me.
Well, I got it pulled up here. Some names to throw out there. I want to see what you think. You got Chris Paul, who has a player option, but I think he's going to probably stick around Phoenix.
Yeah, I think so too.
You got Mike Conley.
Opt in.
Kyle Lowry.
I think he opts in too.
Gordon Dragic, who has a team option.
I think that depends on how far Miami gets, if he decides to opt in or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also for Miami, they either got to go all the way with Kendrick Nunn or try to find somebody else. Playing for a few games and sitting to him and stuff like that. It's like, come on, like, what we doing here, Spoelstra? Now, another name is going to be interesting come off season. Spencer Dinwiddie.
Oh, yeah. He was going to make a lot of money if he didn't get hurt this offseason, to be honest with you.
I think if Spencer Dinwiddie, comes back healthy for next year, I haven't looked what Chicago's cap situation is looking like, which it shouldn't be, much. But if they get enticed as Spencer Dinwiddie, to go along with that backcourt with Zach LaVine, Vooch in the fold,
yeah,
you got something there.
But are you moving Kobe White?
That's tough. Well,
because at this point, like you got Zach LaVine, you got Spencer Dinwiddie because you know what he is. Then you're gonna have Vooch and Thaddeus Young, Lauren Marketing, like Patrick Williams. Like again, it goes with what is your plan as a franchise? Like, are you trying to contend for a title, or are you just trying to be relevant? You know what I'm saying? Like, some teams just want to be relevant to get in the playoffs, to be known. All right, boom, we're here, and they're consistent with that. But certain moves can put you on a totally different level than other teams.
And that's what the Bulls got to figure out. It's like, okay, we made the move for Vooch. Do we continue to go all the way, add another veteran piece, or we just kind of, which you kind of have to because you got Levine in the fold, and you don't want to waste that talent, that scoring talent, and stuff like that. So by default, since you made this move at the trade deadline, you gotta bring some veteran pieces in and try and make that go for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And speaking of playoffs, D-Lock, the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, one of the more surprising storylines of the NBA season, are atop of the Western Conference, ahead by a game and a half behind the second place Phoenix Suns. Donovan Mitchell goes out with an injury a couple of games ago. They lose to the Lakers in overtime. Can Utah maintain that top spot? And especially, I know they don't have too much fans at the NBA games and stuff like that. But can they maintain this top spot and potentially, with that crowd in Utah and the home cookie that they get, with Mitchell out, can they maintain that top spot in the West with Phoenix chomping at the right at their heels?
Not without Donovan Mitchell. If you ask me, I feel like Donovan Mitchell piece that's going to keep them pushing. Conley is pretty solid, but at the same time, he does play a part with Jordan Clarkson. But I think Donovan Mitchell makes everything a lot smoother for them. If you ask me. So I just feel like it's gonna take Utah some time, but at the end of the day, like we gotta see what Utah do. What Utah's gonna do in the playoffs. That's what it boils down to. If you can make some moves in the playoffs, then we are definitely gonna talk about it.
I think, well, they can maintain the spot if a couple guys kind of step up their game. Because I know what Utah does works well in their offense, but if Bogdanovic and I think Joe Eagles kind of step up their games a little bit, because at times, they play well within the offense, but other times they could disappear and not make an impact. Yes, at times they win games, and that's because of, Mitchell and Gobert, but sometimes Jordan Clarkson. But I feel like, when Eagles and Bogdanovic, it feels kind of empty at times. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if those two guys can step up their games, pick up their scoring a little bit, I think that goes a long way for Utah to maintain that top spot in the West. I think, like I said, we got Phoenix in the fold. Playing very well. Devin Booker getting that, scoring consistently. Jay Crowder doing his thing, not just scoring, but defensively, being that utility guy that I think Miami kind of misses at the moment. Granted, last night they got blown out by the Spurs. Talking about Phoenix, but you can't take away what the impact Chris Paul has brought to this group. What it means for Devin Booker. And then, looking at the stat line from yesterday against San Antonio, you mentioned this about a few weeks ago. Cameron Payne playing very well off the bench. he's been a real nice surprise for me for Phoenix. And a guy, if they're going to try to overtake Utah, he's got to be consistent in his play. I got to see more for DeAndre Ayton. In my eyes.
Yeah, big time. But he's sharing time with Sark and Jay Crowder. Like it's weird how the Suns do business over there. Like I'm not sure how is it because they got a lot of guys over there. Like it's kind of confusing how they do things.
I mean, for the season, he's averaging 15 points and and about 11 rebounds. Not bad, but you feel like should be higher than that. And then looking at the stat line from yesterday, I had it and lost it. I just had it. Yeah, he had 8 points, 9 rebounds within 26 minutes of play. Now, granted, yes, they got blown out, so that factors into it. But Potel for the Spurs not playing, DeRozan not playing for the Spurs. With that size already being out, you got to dominate inside, and that didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. So, can Utah maintain that lead for the first? It's a hard sell. Like you mentioned, with Mitchell out, I can't see it. If with Phoenix for the game and a half back, they may take over that spot. Because with the Clippers, it's like game-to-game basis if Kawhi and Paul George play on a consistent basis. Denver, I think they finally catching their groove, but it sucks that Jamal Murray is gone for the rest of the year with torn ACL. I think they finally got their groove going, and now it sucks that Murray's going to be out. Look at fifth, the Lakers. LeBron AD out. They win games here and there. I don't think they slipped too much, but that's the thing to keep an eye on. But let me ask you this. With what things away are opening up around the country in a sense, and some of these sport leagues are kind of opening, having full arenas and stuff like that. Could you see some of these teams kind of to get an advantage having full arenas come playoff time, like in Utah, like you mentioned?
You say it again?
I think.
Do I feel?
Okay, like with Utah, if they maintain their top spot, and the way things are open up around the country, could they, with the sports leagues trying to open up things, could they allow more fans in to kind of get an advantage and maintain their top spot and for the playoffs, stuff like that?
They could. But at this point, the way the season, I don't think that makes a big impact. If that makes sense, like it's gonna make a big impact. But the season has been so long, like during the bubble, all that kind of stuff. Like guys should know. They should know what they should expect from their team. That's just how it goes. So to have, um, fans in, I don't think it'll make a super big impact. It will, but I don't think it'll be like, oh, okay, we about to win 10 games in a row since since we got fans in the next 10 games. Like, I just don't see that. But again, like I said, if it is a big deal, then yeah. At some point, a lot of players, I'm pretty sure, feel like they're playing, street ball, where they're just in the backyard playing, shoot hoops or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're still on the court, so it has to get done, whether fans are there or not. Practices, we've talked about players or people practicing something a lot more. Well, now you feel like you're at practice, so it should be a lot easier for a lot of players. So for teams to want to have fans there, I don't think that should be a priority.
Yeah, we'll see if that comes to a factor for some of these teams. I think for the LA teams, I think they said they're gonna have no fans, so they may not be a factor. In the big scheme of things. Looking at the standings for the rest of the West right now, you got Dallas at the 7th seed, Memphis at the 8th. After that, you got Golden State, San Antonio, and New Orleans. We talked about New Orleans briefly in Zion earlier. We saw that Stan Van Gundy kind of ripped his team defensively. In the last few seconds in regulation against the Knicks, where Bullock hit that 3-pointer in the corner. Big deal or small deal that those words kind of turn the players off against him. I'm talking about Stan Van Gundy. When he talk about, I seen high schoolers defend better on their defensive assignments than these guys. Big deal or small deal on that part?
I mean, it just seems like most of this stuff is. I used to always think we always see like a lot of fans go to games and stuff like that, and we always thought that that's just part of the game, and it takes a huge part in games, but at the same time, as a former athlete, college athlete myself, and semi-pro athlete, like you practice as if fans are there. They're gonna hype you up, but the best players and the best athletes know how to perform when no fans are there, and that's how it should be, produced, in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I think it's a small deal. Hopefully, those words don't kind of turn off his players in the grand scheme of things. Because he got a golden opportunity to have the coach once in a generation type of talent in Zion Williamson. And you're in a dogfight in the West. San Antonio is going to be San Antonio. Golden State, I know Steph Curry's doing all he could do to keep that team afloat, but with Wiseman being out for the rest of the year, Draymond being Draymond, you can tell they've severely missed Klay Thompson. And Kelly Oubre hasn't really brought the punch that, some people have thought. I just think the Pelicans, if they can get things together, they got the pieces. It's just like, if Sam Van Gundy can find, the right group of guys to kind of get things going. I like that. I liked at the time the addition to Isaiah Thomas, but he was just on a 10-day contract, and they didn't bring him back. And he brought like a little punch to that team. But we talked about this when Stan got hired. It's like, I wasn't too big on him going there because I thought, how many chances he's going to give to a guy like this? Another retread higher. So, well, we'll see how things shake out for Minnesota and crew. I mean, not Minnesota, but New Orleans and crew. Come down, to the end of the season. Flip back over to the East. The Celtics. 6 games in a row, D-Lock. It seemed like they maybe had found their groove. People that talk about Brad Stevens not able to figure out things at certain points. With NBA players, the rumor of him maybe going to Indiana. For that head coaching job. Can the Celtics make some noise for the rest of the season and carry that momentum to the playoffs? Or that's fool's gold, and we see another collapse coming for the C's.
That's exactly what it is. I'm not even gonna waste no time. That's exactly what it is. The Celtics do this every year. They play good during the season, and then when the season come around, the playoffs come around, they're nowhere to be found. There's no other way to go around. I wish it could be any other way. They just do not perform during the playoffs.
I counter that. I think they perform in the playoffs. It's just those those 3 moments or so that kind of kills their momentum. It's just like if you go back to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavaliers, I think them not having enough experience kind of derailed them at the last few moments of that series. Then going back to the bubble, I think that was just Miami's time at that point. The rise of Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler playing his butt off, Goran Dragic probably had one of his best runs in his career. So I think you run to that, and then talking about this season, Jason Tatum being out with COVID, and then he's saying in the interview that he's still having issues post COVID. I don't know if you read this or not, but he said he uses an inhaler now to help with breathing and stuff like that. And you talking about a guy that's in his prime of his athletic career, prime in his life, top tier athlete, works out every day, eats well every day, and he's still having issues with this. And that contribute, to the C's up and down season. And for them to have a 6-game winning streak, this late in the season, maybe it's full goal. I think for their sake and for Brad Stevens,
it is.
I think more for Brad Stevens' sake, he better not put fool's goal, or they may try to get something else in here that maybe take them to the next step. Who would that be? I really don't know. But beating the Warriors by 5 yesterday goes a long way. Then you coming in playing against the Bulls. Can you take advantage of that guard situation and expose the Bulls even more? And then you got the tough matchup on the 22nd with the Suns. If you rack those wins up, especially at the Suns, and you carry that momentum to the Nets on the 23rd, I think you may have something going there for the Celtics. That's just me. I think you may have something going with them. along with if Tatum and Jaylen Brown play well, and Kemba can give you something, I think it'll go a long way. What you think about that?
Man, listen. Until the Celtics start to do something on a totally different level than what they've been doing in the past, I don't know what to expect from them. They roll out like crazy, but they have a good season, and then they can't do. They played pretty good last season, but it's just like they start to fall apart, and they got a lot of pieces, and that would never change. But to take that next step is what we're looking for. We know the Celtics can get to the next round, the second round, whatever round, but I want them to be on a totally different level than just getting to the first round, the second round. Like, the Celtics got to do more. I'm ready to see Jason Tatum make that step. I literally thought we were going to see the Celtics in the NBA Finals last year. I don't know how much you thought we were going to see them, but hell, at one point, I really thought they were going to be there. But we didn't see them. So at this point, it's like, when are you going to make that move? I've told you before, but Brad Stevens, like, they got so many pieces on their team. We don't know who's going to be the guy on that team. So for me, I'm ready to see it. And is it going to be one of these teams that is just, okay, we're pretty solid, and we're just going to be decent during the season and just fall on our face during the playoffs, until Jason Tatum's career is over, or are we going to see him actually make that move and contend for a couple times?
Yeah. Boston tradition says, they shouldn't be content just get to the playoffs. It's not their style in a sense. So hopefully, and this kind of circles back to Danny Ainge. Yeah, he might get rid of the coach, but in a sense, are you kind of handicap the team because you don't want to take no chances? Yeah, all the chances in the world to kind of upgrade this team, or maybe make a few minor changes here and there, but you really didn't take that extra step. And like I said, we could come back and say it's coaching. It could be. Am I surprised that Brad Stevens didn't go to Indiana? If they did reach out to him, yeah. Because I still think he's better suited for a college game in my eyes. That's just me. But as Danny Ainge, the GM, do you have enough confidence for what you drafted over the years in Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, those three core guys? And I'm not saying Danny Ainge hasn't made no big moves. He did bring in Kyrie. That didn't really work out, but signed Kemba, and that's been it was lukewarm. Then has turned kind of cold after that water sits for a little while, in a sense. But hopefully, if you add some more hot water, it'd be enough. It'd be sustainable. That's how I view Kemba with the Celtics.
I don't know. It's weird how they. I don't know. To be honest, it seems like he's not the worth. He's not worth the money that they paid for him. Let me say that. Is that okay for me to say? Like, they pay him a lot of money. It just seems like they're not fully committed to this dude. Like, the fact that he's taking some time off is a big deal for me. I just feel like it. Like, nah, what he got over 35 million or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, like for somebody to be literally saying, "Okay, I'm gonna play one day and be hurt the next day," like under the what? He's not even 30 yet. I don't think he's 30.
I think he's
like.
I want to say he's 30. I have to.
Let me double check. Yeah, he's hitting 30 right now. Like to make so much money from Boston, making $30 million a year, like to literally play one game and then sit the next game. Nah, man. Like, So for me, I found that in question.
Yeah, we'll see how how the rest of the season shake up for the C's. Like we said, they got Chicago next game. After that Phoenix, and then after that Brooklyn. So that's 3 games right there that a team that you should beat, a team within your own division for playoff seeding, plus on top of that, and also one of the top teams in the NBA, and especially out west. So we'll see how the Celtics stack up against that crew of teams. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in with us tonight. It was great to be on for 50 episodes with y'all here on IE Sports Radio. And I hope y'all...
5-0.
Big old 5-0. 50 episodes in. Well, with one break in between. We ain't really stopped since the pandemic started.
Real. We've been in it.
In it, and going to stay with it.
Yep.
I do want to mention, I probably will tweet this from our Fast Break account on Fastback IESR. I forgot the kid's name. I think Chet Hankins, number one overall prospect in the country, will be making his announcement tomorrow on where he decided to go to college. A nice 7'1" forward who could dribble, shoot, all that stuff. Real skinny. Well, he's down to Georgetown, North Carolina, Minnesota, Gonzaga, Ohio State, and Michigan. I got a feeling the Zags might get him.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big push. It's gonna be hard. They hot right now, so it'll be hard to turn it down.
So look out. If you're not following us on Twitter, please follow us on there, and we'll be talking about that, commitment ceremony, whenever that starts. But D-Lock, how can the people find you on social media?
Black Dash 813 all day. 813 does stand for Tampa, even though I'm standing in a different city right now. Let them know they can find you yet, man.
Find me at Twitter at Spawn4288. Like I said, follow our Twitter account at Fastbreak at IESR. That's Fastbreak IESR. Mike Pat is on immediately after us. I know he'll be discussing, about the NFL mock draft contest. Please do that. I did mine. I did like 20 drafts, and I finally sent mine to him. So, if you want to do a mock draft, send it to Mike. I know he probably discussing on the show where to send it to, but please do that. It's a lot of fun. But we'll be here next week. We'll talk to y'all soon. We out.
Deuces.